Greetings, Stone Seekers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful week as we approach, really rapidly here, the holiday season. I wanted to just take a minute and I want to talk to you a little bit more about what's coming with our pre-release proof cards that everyone who participated in our Kickstarter is going to be receiving. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about exactly what this is and how super special that I really believe this is. So I mentioned this on the town hall, but one of the things that I think is the most interesting about this is the fact that normally, to the extent that proofs and that sort of thing exist, what ends up happening is years after the fact, if a franchise is successful, some of those end up just showing up on an auction site. They're gray market. Doesn't mean they're fake or counterfeit. It just means that you don't necessarily know where they came from, who had them. Sometimes it may say it was from the founder's specific collection or whatever. But for the most part, a lot of that stuff just ends up being kind of gray market. And the early collectors, the people that, put their dollars into that product, they didn't necessarily have a shot at that. And the market's pretty accepting of that. I don't think there's anything nefarious in that. It's not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not something that I particularly love. And so if something's a card, a proof card, that didn't go through a randomization, the idea that I would personally want to collect that later, very low. I don't have any of those type of items in my personal collection. The only print-on-demand products I have are just little things that I kind of really vibe with. It's just not the randomization of something going through a pack is an incredibly important part of the thesis for me, or being randomized. I don't care how it's randomized per se, as long as the broader collector ecosystem has an opportunity at it. And me being in that collector ecosystem, I had a shot at it. And then if I don't get it, then I feel pretty good going with that provenance and then looking to acquire the item if it's something that's important to me and something that I want to collect. And so I'm trying to build with that in mind. And so this is an opportunity for us to bring our earliest community into something that I've never really seen this done before, to bring you in and allow you to have these proof cards and participate in something that would normally be reserved only for insiders and, again, things that would, just be handed out. There would be no real randomization provenance to it. And so I really am excited about the way that we're doing this. And I want to kind of explain a little bit about exactly how the proof process works, because I want you to understand this. When we want a proof of something, and I've done this a number of times through the process of all of our different sets, I will say, hey, I'd like to see these particular cards on this particular foil pattern. And we have some foil files that would have all the layers and stuff. And when the factory is in between product runs, they'll slide it in, print a few of those proofs and ship them out, and I'll be able to look at them. What doesn't happen in that process is any of the tuning that happens when you normally make cards. When you normally make cards, they have to first run the press until the inking is right, all the color is right, there's no roller lines, no pressure points, different card stocks are different. All that stuff has to be tweaked and adjusted. The way the cards get cut, they slide into a die, and they actually go through a double cutting process. You have one that cuts them into a rectangle off the sheet. Then they go into a second die, and then in that second die, that's when they get cut to have the rounded corners. And you actually even just saw that with my fingers here. If that die, if the tooling for that is too tight, then what happens is the cards jam, and it creates essentially what is a paper jam in a factory production process where these things are moving 1,000,000 miles a minute, and all of that workflow gets backed up, and that's a huge loss of money. So what they have to do is they have to try to tune the machines so that they have the best quality you can get, but also enough tolerance so that the cards don't get gummed up. And that's essentially what causes some cards to get cut. OC is they go into that die, there's a little bit of play in it, and the difference in that card getting stamped here versus sitting in the middle, the difference in a centered card, cut short top, short bottom, right? So that's how that process works. Now, with these proof cards, none of that is done. There is no running the press until all the inking is right. There is no making sure there are no print lines. They're cut with whatever the current cutter is that's on the board. They're not going to cut it with some big oversized cutter. But if this is a sports card run, First cut will be the sports card cut, and then they'll take it over to whatever the last TCG cut, which that's a standard cut. But that first cut could be off, the tooling could be more open. There's a number of different things that could happen in the cutting process. The other thing that's important to understand is that the paper that they would run the proof on is not necessarily the final singularity core paper that we have for Wonders. Because what you do is the darker paper core for our production cards it helps with light intrusion, so it just helps the darker art to show a little bit better. But when you are reviewing cards, you lay them flat against something black anyway, shine a light down on top, and then you loop it and look at it through a loop. There is no light intrusion coming through on that, or to the extent there would be, it would be fairly immaterial to what we're looking for, to make sure the layering is right, to make sure there's no overruns and these are things we found in the proofing process. Like right around this little rarity symbol at one point, there was some noise left in a layer, and we couldn't see it with the naked eye, or couldn't see it in the files, but then when the press got it, it was causing it to print over part of what should have been a little bit of a foil, and you only saw it if you tilted it exactly the right way. And that's what the physical proofing and stuff is intended for, is to make sure your layers are right, the way that you like what you've layered, to make sure that little things like that get caught. But what the proofing is not, what proofs are not, they're not intended to be production run cards. And so the fact that these cards are not coated, they don't have the coating of a final card. You can feel it when you hold it in your hand. It probably won't come through in this video, but when I feel this card, I can feel the difference. This is a production run card. This was taken out of the rejects bin. I don't know what was wrong with it, but this is a card that I had some of these to show for some content and that sort of stuff. This will also eventually, I love my guy Billy here from the Boba collection, but I want a pack pulled Billy. I don't want a Billy that was, shipped to me out of the reject bin. But this one doesn't have that coating. And so then what happens is that when they go to cut the cards, they go in, they get cut face up, the cutter comes down and it cuts, and it can cause chipping off the back side of the card. I picked this one up with the first because I saw some chipping on this particular one. There's a little bit of chipping right there. You can see it. And it's a little easier for this card. You can just see when I scrape my finger on it, it's a little easier to chip that than it would be a production card, because it doesn't have that protective coating. So things that are going to kind of impact the grading of these cards would be things like roller lines, things like the chipping. Doesn't mean the card still isn't beautiful. Centering, different. We actually have some of these cards where there's actually a little bit of diamond cutting, where this is something that you see a lot in vintage cards, but essentially diamond cutting would be when a card goes in and it gets a little cattywampus in the cutter and it comes down. This is obviously super exaggerated, but it would cause it to be not necessarily just off center, but it could be a little bit kind of turned at an angle. Let me see if I can find a card here that is got a little bit of diamond cut to it. I can see a little bit in that one, a little bit in that one. I think this one probably shows it maybe the best. If you look here where the border is here from the line to the edge of the card, compare it to here, you can tell there's a slight difference. So not necessarily worrying about whether it's OC, but this one would be a little bit diamond cut. And that gets considered in your centering grade when they look at centering of a card. This one's a little bit diamond cut. But, again, so one of the things that I just want to prepare everybody for, because I saw some comments in Discord where I saw some people say, ooh, never been in a pack, Jimmy. These are going to be gems and that sort of thing. Look, if we wanted to send all 10s, we could 100% have done it easily, because when you look at what we're spending, the bill to grade all these cards is 6 figures, and we could have, the production cost is significantly less than that. And we could have easily said, look, we want to make sure we have 24 gem copies of this, do a full production run, get the machine spooled up, and run us 100 of these. We send them in min grade, whatever, and we could have delivered all of these cards as gem mint cards. That's not what this is. That's not what this is at all. This is these are proofs, the way that we get them. And I think that is amazing. The fact that we've put these proofs through a randomizer and the community can get them and can collect them, I think it's super awesome. And there will be, I think, some 10s. It wouldn't surprise me if it's single digit. It wouldn't surprise me if it's 15%. I don't think it's going to be 30%. I don't think there's any way. I don't think it's going to be 25%. I don't know what it's going to be. I haven't heard a single word from the graders. I don't think they've finished grading a single card yet, because we sent them off, I guess, probably a week or more ago. But we have to go in a line there, and I haven't heard a word from them as far as like any final grades. So I don't know anything about what's happening over there on the final grades. But again, I just think that this is super cool, whether it's an 8, whether it's a gem, they're all super cool. Is a gem more cool than an 8? Yeah, because it went through that process, and despite all of everything stacked against it as just a proof card, it still managed to kind of get hammered up dead center, didn't chip, everything was good, no roller lines, and it came out as a gem mint card. I think that would be amazing, and I think that is a something that I hope the community will tremendously value if you get one that's a gem card. And at the same time, I hope that you still cherish your 9s and your 8s and even your 6s and your 7s. I don't know what you're going to get, but I've seen some cards personally that I look at them and I think, yeah, that's probably struggles to get an 8. Our production quality is solid. And we saw it with our Bo Jackson release that we released at the National. Same factory, same team that's building it at the factory, same QC personnel. The grades on that have been tremendous. This is a boba card that, again, came out of the discard bin. I was actually looking and trying to figure out why it got discarded. It may just be that the back looks maybe like it's a little flat in color, so maybe it hadn't gotten spooled up to the right color yet, but it's a really good looking card, and there's no chipping because it has the coating layer on it. And if this card had been done without the coating layer and it got cut, it would be chipped. It's just, again, the difference in a production card and a proof. It doesn't mean that these proofs aren't beautiful. I mean, they are. Just look at that. Look at that. And I didn't cherry pick these. Like, I just grabbed some to show you. So like, these are all really freaking amazing. But I just want you to be mentally prepared and understand what these are. I don't want us to judge these as you would judge a final production card, because that's not what they are. That's an unfair judgment. So anyway, I think it's super cool, and I think it also gives us an opportunity. We've given away a good chunk of these. There will be some available for folks to buy unrevealed and rip. One thing to think about is the revealing all the grades. I think what we'll probably do is we'll probably tell everybody what percentage of the cards maybe landed in certain grades. I think that level of transparency makes sense. I think for at least some period of time, I would like to preserve the surprise of what may be there. So maybe we set a date and we say on this date, we'll have them turn the full grade report on. And that way all your QR codes and that sort of thing will work. And if they were to all sell out before that, because we do have some of these to sell, and that helps us monetize, and it helps us monetize without producing more booster boxes, without inflating all the supply of our cards. And I don't think that this is a cannibalistic product at all. I think it's a really cool product, and I think it's got a very specific lane to run in, and I'm super excited about it. If it sells out, then we would certainly go ahead and turn on the full grade report. But otherwise, we'd probably set a date and we would just have them turn the grade report on as of that date. So I don't want to let it hang out there indefinitely on everybody, but transparency while preserving the opportunity for surprise. I would personally love to be able to rip without necessarily all of the transparency of every single grade. I think that's kind of cool. I hope enough of you agree. For those of you that don't, you'll get your full grade report in due time. You'll get the grade for your card. You'll see it. It'll be on the face of the slab. So I hope everyone will kind of jive with that concept. And yeah, I'm super excited about this. I couldn't be, honestly, it's hard for me to be more excited about this than I am. I wish I could rip and rip some of these myself, but I can't, because I will know what the grades are, and that's not fair. But I'll definitely be looking on the secondary market to do some trades and some buys around some stuff that I may personally like, and I look forward to collecting these, because again, these that I have, I don't value these. I'm not going to send these to Tag and get them graded. They didn't go through the randomization. They serve a purpose for me to use to advance our product forward. If I croak before they get shredded or destroyed, maybe they end up on the gray market. But if I have a good run here and we get the product good and established, at some point, these will go the way of the dodo bird. But in the meantime, I do have some of these. Right now, I am the only one that has these in their possession. The rest are locked up in the vault, and I will be the best steward of these that I can be and use them to help push the narrative forward. But again, the ones that are the collectibles, the ones that we want to exist, they're the ones that are going into the slabs that all of you are getting, and we'll have the opportunity to get some more. 24 of every card, that's it. Common, mythic, doesn't matter. And there are some of the cards that are getting the Tag S grade. Those are what we call the box art set. And essentially it is the cards where the wonder that is on the card has been featured on the various serialized advantage and collector boosters. And that set is getting the Tag S treatment. And that will give us the opportunity to do some fun little things with that 1,000-point score. Those of you that don't know what that is, you can look it up on the Tag website. They essentially give a 1,000-point score to the card. And that way, if we wanted to say, hey, the highest scored Emma Shockbite down to the 1,000th of a point is this particular card, I think that's pretty cool. We couldn't afford to do that for all the cards. That is an incredibly expensive form of grading. We do not get a discount on that form of grading at all either. So, but the box art cards will have that, and I think that's super cool. So hope you're all super excited and looking forward to this. It is coming soon. And yeah, I hope y'all are really going to love it. So thanks for your time, and I hope you have a good idea now a little bit about the difference in proof cards and final production cards and exactly what that means.